Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to walk you through MLA formatting, and I'm also going to show you a few extra guidelines that I want you to follow for turning in assignments for our class this quarter. So I'm going to share my screen here. So I'm in Microsoft Word. If I want to start my paper, I would start at the very beginning by typing my name. Hit enter. On the second line, I'm going to put my instructor's name. This is one of my professors from college, and my cat is here to talk to us today as well. The next thing that I'm going to put is the class name, and optionally you can put the title of the assignment there as well if you want. You could put that, so I'll go ahead and write, goodness, you're getting in the way, buddy. Informative report. On the fourth line, you would write the date that the assignment is due. So taking a look back at this one, he gets fed soon. That's why he's being so clingy. All right, buddy, I need you to move. Don't fall. So taking a look at the assignment, it is due April 25th. This is just the MLA summary paragraph, not the informative report, but due on the 25th. MLA wants you to write the number, the date first, and then the month, and then the year. On the fifth line, you will write the title of your paper. So don't write a title like informative report. Write a specific title of your paper. So it might be something like kimchi, like probiotic superfood, fantastic. You're going to center this. The title needs to be centered. You can go up here to do the centering. So here, notice how it's left aligned. Click this button, it becomes centered. Click this button, it becomes right aligned. So we want centered. On the sixth line, then you're going to go back to left aligned. You're going to indent a 1/2 of an inch. And the way you do that is you hit the tab key on your keyboard. When you click that tab key, it automatically gives you a 1/2 inch indent, and that's how much you want. And then you can start writing your paper. So kimchi is, let's start writing. So there's a couple more things though that we need to add here. So before we go any further, the spacing is not correct. Notice, watch what happens if I continue writing my paragraph. Writing my paragraph is fun. I like writing paragraphs because it's great. All right, so notice how we're not double spaced, but these look like they're double spaced, don't they? They're not actually double spaced. When you open Microsoft Word, it defaults to business letter mode. And so all of these paragraphs, and every time you hit the enter key, it thinks of it as a paragraph. And after every paragraph, you have a space. Notice how down here it says remove space after paragraph. That's because right now it's adding a space after every paragraph. So watch what happens when I remove that space. Now we've just got those two lines back to back, the way that we would normally see in maybe like a website or something like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of the text. There's two ways you could do this. You could take your mouse and click and drag it, but there's an easier way. From anywhere on the paper, hold the control button on your keyboard and hit A. Control A is select all. That'll select all the text in your paper. Then go up here. If it says add space, go ahead and add it and then remove it. You want to get it so it says remove space after paragraph. And look at that. That's beautiful. Every line is right where it belongs, right? However, we need to double space it. So these two lines are just as far apart as these two lines, which are just as far apart as these two lines. That's what we wanted, but we also need them to be double spaced. So now we Control A, select all, go back up here one more time. And right now it's single spaced, we need double spaced. And it looks like that. So that is going to be your proper MLA formatting. One more thing. You need to add the page number and your last name in the header. So there's two ways to do that. One way, you can go up to Insert, and then click on page number. Here's page number. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Page number, top of page on the right. And that automatically opens up the header box. You'll write your last name, then give a space, and then you're ready to go. And you can click X to close the header and footer box. Now, if you go to page 2, it's going to say your last name and 2. If you go to page 3, it's going to say your last name and 3. So that's how you do page numbers. The other way of doing that, you can double click in the header box. By double clicking in there, notice how this part gets gray. So now you can't access the paper anymore. You can only access the header. And then you can make those changes as well. The page number is listed right up here. All right. You can also double click in the gray area to bounce back and forth between the header and the body. All right, so everything I have shown you is MLA formatting. This is perfectly properly formatted for MLA. Now, I'm going to show you a couple extra things that I'd like you to do because it's a recurring thing on every assignment. And so this is going to help us just kind of help each other, basically, and be able to respond to each other's writing throughout the quarter. First thing I want you to do on any draft that you turn in is I want you to write next to your name either audio or written. Audio or written indicates to me whether you would prefer to get mostly audio feedback where I talk to you about your paper and what you can improve and what you did well, or written where I write comments on your paper and you go in and click and read through those comments. There's benefits and there's pros and cons to either way. So if you prefer the audio, some students prefer audio because it's easier to listen to. It gives them kind of a narrative, like everything. I'm telling kind of the story of the paper and how I read it and my feedback on it. So that can be one of the benefits. It's a lot easier to access in terms of you just simply click on the play button and it appears right away in your feedback, and then listen to my comments. I'm still going to add some written comments, even if I'm giving you audio feedback. So you'll still need to click into the document and see the written feedback. The benefit to getting written feedback instead of audio feedback is I'm able to select parts of the text and make comments on specific parts of the text. And so that can really help in a lot of ways too. Sometimes students simply prefer written comments over audio comments because maybe it's harder to keep track of all of the audio comments and easier just to read them written. But then one of the benefits of the audio then is that if you're presented with audio comments and you're writing your notes, taking notes while listening to my comments, that helps you process and think about what feedback I'm giving you. So basically, whatever your preference is, let me know. But if you prefer written, I won't be leaving any audio comments. I'll just be writing comments out there. If you ask for audio feedback, I'll be giving you audio comments primarily, but I might also include 1 or 2 written comments. And I'll definitely be including written comments in the rubric, which we'll talk about in another video. So you'll put that up here. I'll say I prefer written feedback. I think that is what I would probably prefer. Then what I want you to do in the 5th line, I want you to add something extra. This is not something you normally do for MLA. But I want you to write your audience. So who is the audience for your paper? Now on your, let's go back to this one, the MLA summary paragraph assignment, your audience is just me, your instructor. But once you get to your informative report, I'm asking you to select a specific group of people, a specific audience that you're writing to. And I have some examples in the assignment sheet that describe options for you, and you can come up with your own. But so you're going to specify who the audience for your assignment is. So for example, for this paper, I'm writing about kimchi, probiotic superfood. Let's say this is maybe in my research on kimchi, I read that probiotic food is really good for people who are at high risk for colon cancer. So I'm going to say audience is people worried about colon cancer. That's a really specific audience. So I would only go that super specific if the majority of my content is going to relate to, to that concern about colon cancer or something like that. But anyway, so whatever the case is, we're going to provide the audience here for every one of your papers. So I want you to be thinking about who specifically am I writing to? Because depending on whom you're writing to, that's going to change the way that you write about it, right? So if you're telling, elementary school students about kimchi, you would write about that really differently compared to the way you would write to college students compared to the way that you would write to, let's say, your parents or grandparents or something like that. So you'll provide your audience here. Then before your title, I want you to add a special extra section here. And I want you to title it just maybe like questions for peers or questions for feedback. Because I want you to provide at the beginning of your paper 2 to 4 questions. Oops. Question number 1, question 2, 3. So at least 2 questions, not more than 4 questions. Don't go too overboard. Questions about your paper, about your work. So you're working on this assignment. You are making decisions, right? How to write about this topic, where to put information, how to attribute sources to the information, etc. And so as you're making those choices, you're probably wondering, is this the right way to do this? Is this how I should do this? What's the effect if I do this? So I want you to think of what are some questions that you would like feedback so that when your peers read your paper for peer review, and when I read your paper to give you feedback and to, to grade it, then we'll all be able to start with our feedback by starting with the things that you really want to know about. So please choose questions that are focused on, writing process. It really helps to focus on the criteria for success. So at the end of every assignment sheet, remember I'm providing a list of criteria that you need to meet to be successful. So if your questions are related to these, that's usually the best. So you might say something like, how is my topic sentence? How did I do on the paraphrasing? Did I do an okay job? Are my in-text citations correct? Is my works cited page correct? Maybe how is my MLA formatting? So use the criteria for success. That can usually help you guide your questions. But if you have specific questions that came to mind while you were writing and they don't have to do with the criteria for success, that's fine. That's totally fine. So I'm interested in, whatever you're curious about with your writing assignment that you want that feedback on, feel free to include that. Don't put questions like questions about like, I don't know how to describe it other than like cutesy questions, like, what was your favorite part of Unit 1 and taking this class? Or did you like the reading? Or don't ask questions like, one time a student wrote a paper on jackfruit, and the question that they asked their peers and me for feedback on was, they said, where did jackfruit originate? And the answer to that question was found in their paper. So they were giving us like a quiz on their assignment. That's not the type of questions that I want you to write. I want you to write questions about your writing, because we're going to be giving you feedback on your writing. We're not going to be, playing the quiz game on your food item or whatever. So this is what your paper is ultimately going to look like. You'll have your paper here. I'm just going to keep adding a few sentences here to kind of make it look like this is an actual paper. And notice we lost our formatting already. So what I can do, I can Control A, go back up to here, double space it, remove space after the paragraphs, just make sure it's all good and clean, just like that. Looks good. So anyway, you're going to have your paper. It's going to be 750 to 1250 words or longer for the future papers that we work on. Once you get then finished with writing your paper, remember you've got your works cited page. It's going to be at the top of a fresh page. The way you can do that is you can create a page break. So start a new line, go up to Insert, and click on Page Break. That'll automatically start you at the top of a new page. Then you'll center, you'll type Works Cited, and then you will go ahead and start filling in your works cited. So you'll write the author's name. We talked about this in class. So here's what your works cited is going to look like. And here's what your first page is going to look like in terms of formatting. I realize that's a lot to follow. Just keep in mind, you know, the MLA formatting, that's actually governed by, let's see if I've got the book here somewhere. Yeah, right here. The MLA Handbook, 8th edition. I did not require you guys to purchase this book because I figured everything that we need to know about MLA formatting we can find online and through free resources. So I didn't want you to have to spend the money for this textbook. But just so you know, like MLA isn't some random, like you might not realize what is MLA. The Modern Language Association, it's an organization that that determines, well, it doesn't do just that they determine, but they are an organization and association for professionals who work with language and literature. And so they provide, one of the things that they do is they provide guidelines and they provide kind of the standards in the field for how we should cite sources and refer to sources when we are quoting them or paraphrasing them in our homework assignments. So, so anyway, yeah, that's where all of that comes from in here. And then I've got my additional guidelines that I wanted to show you as well. So if you follow those guidelines, that's really going to help out a lot for having clear and straightforward assignments, and we'll be able to give feedback more helpfully if you give us those questions at the beginning, if you express clearly who your audience for your assignment is, and then if you prefer audio or written feedback. So thank you for watching this. Send me an email if you have any questions. My goal is for you all to be successful in this class. So I think the first step is just getting all this technical stuff out of the way so we can proceed from there. Have a good day.